Howdy, with this video, I want to go over the schedule real quickly, then go over essay number 2. Make sure you understand what I'm looking for there. Doing this video on Wednesday, October 7th. For Friday, the topic for essay number 2 is due, and that's not quite as easy as it first sounds. I'll show you why here in a second. But then the first 2 paragraphs are due next Tuesday. That'll just be kind of a check-in. We'll make sure you're on the right track with the essay and not going down a dark alley or anything. Then the draft's due on the 16th. I'll assign peer reviews like I did the first essay. You'll look at each other's essays, try and help each other out, and those will be due on Tuesday. It might take me a little while to get through those. It's kind of a longer essay. So in the meantime, you're going to be starting in on the poetry a little bit. Then we'll kind of take a break from poetry, and you'll finish that essay number 2, get that turned in. Then we'll finish out the class with poetry and have a little fun with that. You can kind of see not a lot of time left, which is kind of good news and bad news, right? But to go over essay number 2, it's up here on the content page under material for essay number 2. Go ahead and click on that. Make it big. And for this essay, it's going to be a 1,000-word minimum. Generally, word count's not a problem with this essay because you're discussing 3 full-length plays. And you should be able to get to 1,000 words pretty quickly. Easy for me to say, right? But it's going to be a guided research essay. I'm telling you where to go using MLA documentation. The essay is going to be organized as follows. Your first paragraph, you're going to introduce and summarize and quote and discuss one of the ideas in Brian Johnson's essay, Realism in a Dollhouse. And the link for that is up there on D2L. And we'll go ahead and go to that. It was right there under material for essay number 2. I got it pulled up in the Word here. But the idea behind this essay, let me get back to the top, is that you're trying to find one idea in this Brian Johnson essay that you can turn into an essay of your own. And you're going to see Brian Johnson's an Ibsen critic. He's read all of Ibsen's works in the original Norwegian. So he's a little bit ahead of the rest of us, or most of us, certainly ahead of me. He's thought about this his entire professional career. He's a literature teacher, right? And this is a lot of what he's done with his entire adult life. So he's going to be a little ahead of us, and you're not trying to understand everything within this essay. In fact, somebody's just going to be like, well, I don't know Norwegian, so he's losing me here. That's pretty normal. But you're looking for that one idea that you can kind of say, hey, I can apply this to a dollhouse, Oedipus, and Antigone, and get my own essay out of this. So as you're reading, don't be surprised if sometimes he goes over your head. It's a pretty normal effect. But here he starts getting into Hegelian parallels. You don't have to know your 19th century philosophers to kind of understand what he's saying, hopefully. But he's kind of talking about this idea of men versus women and how they have different ethical expectations. To our modern ears, this might sound a little sexist, but within the context of the plays, you might be kind of like, okay, I kind of see that happening there a little bit. Might be a little harder with Oedipus, but and that's kind of the trick. You got to kind of look at the idea, this idea that there are 2 spiritual laws, one in a man and one in a woman, and they're different, but women get judged by the laws of men, right? And kind of say like, well, this is kind of happening in at least 2 of the plays. How can I make this work with the 3rd one? And you got to kind of work through it a little bit. So again, this idea that you're just submitting your topic for essay 2 on Friday, it's going to take a little work to get to that topic. But if that doesn't strike your fancy, you can kind of get into other stuff. These male and female roles. How are they inherited? How do they come to us? What makes these things happen within our cultures? It's kind of an interesting question there. You might be able to work that into a good essay. And I've just highlighted a few things that you don't have to pick one of these. You can pick one of your own, obviously. But you're just going to read through this. And again, the idea is not that you understand the entire essay. I'm not asking you to summarize the entire essay. Just kind of get into the one topic from the essay that you're going to work with in your own essay. This idea of spiritual awakening is kind of interesting. I'm not convinced Torvald's capable of that at the end of a dollhouse. Maybe you are. So you can kind of see a lot of the stuff. He's kind of throwing some things out here. This is a humanities-based essay, so it meanders a bit. It's also in draft form, so he's not quite finished with it. So he kind of wanders aimlessly or seemingly aimlessly once in a while. And that's kind of okay for humanities essays. You can kind of throw out a topic and kind of say, and this would make me another good essay someday, and then move on back to what you were saying. And it can be a little frustrating if you're a science major or a math person who wants it like an experiment where you just say everything you've got to say in direct fashion. So if it's frustrating you a little bit, it just might be the style a little bit. But this idea that we all build fantasies about ourselves is another interesting one. We can see that in all three of the plays, right? Where the protagonists, the main characters, kind of develop this fantasy version of themselves, kind of like we do on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. That may not reflect who we really are, what's really happening around us, and what happens when those narratives that we create for ourselves don't stand up to reality. Um, but you can kind of read through this. Some of this might go like, no, 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 no. This idea that each person shares the guilt of the society to which he or she belongs is a very interesting idea, right? Why does the entire city of Thebes have to suffer for Oedipus's transgressions? Why is that? Why do things work out that way? He kind of throws that one out there a little bit, but it's kind of a very deep question about why the masses suffer for the acts of a few, right? And you can kind of, like I said, you're trying to read through this and find that one idea you can make into your own essay. Don't just look at the ones I'm highlighting here. But how do we know what reality is? Kind of going back to the Plato's cave, right? Do we really want to know the truth? We kind of hear that from Tiresias, like, what's the use of wisdom if it only leads to suffering? Kind of a scary idea, and we kind of see that happening in all these plays, right? To know the truth, our lives almost have to be completely destroyed. Why is that so? Why does it take that kind of action for us to see reality as it actually is, if there's reality to see? Be sure some of these might lead you into plot summary of the plays. You're not doing plot summary. You're going to analyze this one idea you're going to come up with, and through those three plays. So be careful. It's starting to lead towards plot summary. Be careful. For example, this idea that characters undergo violent reversals. Well, of course, there'd be no reason to write a play if they weren't going to change throughout the play, unless you're doing Waiting for Godot. So you want to make sure you're not falling into plot summary with your essay. But again, this idea that drama doesn't imitate reality, some people call Ibsen a realist writer. But Johnston here is going to argue that that's not quite accurate. He's not trying to recreate the world outside the theater. He's trying to do something within the context of theater that's really new and very complex. So you're trying to look for one of those ideas that you're going to turn into. Where'd it go? Oh, over here. Sorry. Your own. But in that first paragraph, again, you want to summarize that idea that you're getting from Johnston, then discuss that idea and what you think he's saying there, and then trying to kind of give it a little twist and show us how you're going to analyze that idea in terms of a dollhouse, Oedipus the King, and Antigone. It doesn't have to be in that order. You should give each play equal weight within the essay, which means you should give it about the same number of words, same amount of word count. But you don't have to say the same thing about each play, right? You can say, well, we're all responsible, we're all guilty of our society's crimes, and that may apply in two of the plays, but maybe not another one or something like that. There's nothing wrong with that, but you want to kind of take that one idea and apply it to all three plays. So again, you want to kind of talk about the same length of each play, but what you say about the play may be quite a bit different in terms of that idea you're using. Also, you're free to disagree with Johnston. If you read one of the ideas and kind of go like, nah, there's a few things in there he says I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know if I could buy that. But I don't know. I'm not sure I'd make an essay out of that, but you can if you want to. The body of the essay is going to develop your own thoughts regarding how that idea and how your little twist on it relates to those three works. But make sure you're making your own analysis of the works. You should not be going to Spartan Notes or cheatessays.com or anything and just regurgitating what they say, right? This should be your own work. There should be no other research in the essay other than Johnston and the three plays. Be very careful there. The plagiarism detector is quick to pick up stuff like that, and that gets you into trouble, right? One problem with this essay is if you get caught plagiarizing, it's hard for me to come up with a new topic because this is kind of it. Avoid plot summary there. Make sure you have a well-developed concluding paragraph that does more than just restate what you've already said in the essay. You're kind of building towards this conclusion. And if you just kind of go back and restate what you already said, it's kind of like, yeah, I already read that. Why is the writer restating this? What are we supposed to take away from your analysis, particularly with these plays written 2,400 years apart? How does that relate to us today? or something like that. Trying to do more than just summarize your essay. The only things on your works cited space will be Johnston and the 3 works. Make sure you quote at least once from each work, including Johnston, but once from each play. Overall, you should have at least one long quote and one short quote from the 3 plays. It might be a long quote from Oedipus, a short quote from Antigone, and a short quote from a dollhouse. However you want to mix that up is fine with you, but I want to see at least one long quote and one short quote overall within the work. I'll make sure you understand how to do that. You should have all those fun punctuation. Don't use I, got, get, you, it. All those kind of words that kind of force your writing into kind of a, makes your writing a little weaker, right? It's not, you can always rewrite sentences to get those words out of there. But the big trick is getting through that Brian Johnston essay, sticking to it a little bit. Like I said, he's an Ibsen scholar. This is most of what he's thought about most of his adult professional life. So don't get too bogged down in the idea that you don't understand anything you're not supposed to. And again, I'm not going to ask you to summarize the entire Johnston essay. Just want you to find that one idea that you can turn into your own essay by analyzing the 3 plays we've read. If you have any questions about it, let me know. Again, the topic for essay number 2 is due on Friday. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.